The video that you're watching is a file. The code that you write is also stored in a file. The pics that you click and post it on Instagram is also a file. And the apps that you are using are all files. Not just that the operating system that you are using is nothing but mountain of files. So files are everywhere in this digital universe. So working with the files is an essential part of life as a software developer. So now let's see how to read and write files. Welcome to file handling. So now when we talk about files, there are different kinds of files that we encounter in our daily life. For example, the music that we hear, that's a type of file. The videos that we watch, that's also a type of file. For example, the pictures that we click, that's also a kind of file. Not just that, the code that you write is also a file. After that, you would compile this code. Again you would get a file, that's also a file. But these files are called as compiled files, or in case of Java it's called as bytecode. Not just this, even the text, plain text that you see is also stored in a file. And the XML or JSON whatever you have, that's also a file. Now, if you observe in this, all these kinds of files are categorized into one category and all of this are categorized as another category. Why? Because you can easily read and write these files, and these files are called as text files. And these files you cannot read and write easily, and these are called as binary files. So now what we shall do is, we shall see how to read and write the text files. Now if I go to my computer, and inside that if I go to file systems, I will find C drive, and inside that C drive I will find a folder called as users, and inside that folder there is a folder called as room 1, and inside that there is a folder called as desktop, and after that inside that I have my files, and inside my files folder I have a file called as data.txt. Now all these folders whichever I told, that is user, room 1, desktop and my files, all these are even termed as directories rather than folders, and that's what is used in the code as well. So I want you to understand this. Now let's focus on data.txt. So if I focus on data.txt, if I have to write anything to this, or if I want to read anything out of this, then the first thing that we need to do is, for this particular file data.txt, I need to have a reference, or I have to create a handle. Now how can we create a handle in Java if you ask me? It's very simple. All that I have to do is create an object of file. So how do we create? Very simple. All that I have to do is, I need to say new file, and after that what I need to do is, I need to pass a string, and that string is nothing but the path. So the complete path is what I need to mention. So what was the complete path over here if you ask me? This was the complete path. So that is what I need to mention over here. Now once I do this, this would create an object. Now whatever object it has created, I will give a reference to this and I will name it as file, and the reference type of this is also file. Now what exactly would have happened if I write this particular syntax if you ask? Very simple. What this would have done is, it would have created a handle for this particular file, and that is what would have happened. Now I have already created a handle. Now I can see what is there inside the data, or if I want to write I can write into that, if I want to read I can read from that. But before that, let's understand few things. There are certain methods which will help us to do certain things. So the first thing that I want to see over here is, I want to actually check that path name whatever I have given over there, in that particular path name, does that file really exist or not? Because I can pass any string over there. So if I have to check whether that file exists or not, or this file exists or not, there is a method for that, and the name of the method is exist. And what is this going to do? This is going to say whether that file exists or not. It is going to say yes or no. It means it is going to return a boolean value. In case if it returns true, it means that file exists. If it returns false, it doesn't exist. Same way we can check whether we can write anything to this. So if we want to check whether we can write anything to that, there is a method for that. And the name of the method is canWrite. Same way, if we have to check whether we can read anything into this particular file, then there is a method for that. And the method is canRead. For example, in case if you want to get the name of that particular file, there is a method for that as well. And the name of that method is getName. Same way, for example, if you see this particular file is present inside one folder. So if you want to get the name of the folder where it is present, you can get that as well. So the name of that method is nothing but getParent. What would getParent do is, it would get the parent folder of this. Not just that, for example, if you want the complete path, that is from C drive till that particular file, if you want all the folders or all the directories till that particular file, you can get that as well. So how to get that particular path, if you ask me? Very simple. There is a method for that, and the name of the method is getAbsolutePath. Same way, now if you observe, this particular file is a normal file. There are other files that we have seen, that is directories. So you know the difference between a file and a directory. Directory is something which can hold n number of files, or directory is something which is basically called as a folder. Now if you want to know whether that particular file, is it a directory or a file, a normal text file, it's very simple. There is a method to check whether it's a normal text file or not, and the name of the method is isFile. Same way, if you want to check whether it's a directory or whether it's a folder, then what you can do is, you can say isFolder. IsFile is going to return true if it is a file, or else it is going to return you false. IsDirectory is also going to do the same thing. It will return true if it is a folder or a directory, or else it will return you false. Now same way, in case, let's assume that file does not exist. Now what I want to do is, I want to create that particular file. Now if I have to create that file, there is a method for that. And the name of the method is createNewFile. That's all is the name of the method. What it will do is, it will create a new file in case if it's not present. For example, let's assume that we want to create a directory or we want to create a folder. So if I have to create a directory or folder, then there is a method for that, and the name of the method is mkdir. Mkdir in full form, what does it mean if you ask me? It is make directory. And if you call that method, it will create a folder for you with the name that you have specified in the path. Same way, let's assume that this is a particular folder that I have, and in this folder you might have n number of files. You want to get all the names of the files. If you want to do that, you can get that as well. And what is the method if you ask me? The name of the method is list, and this method is going to return you n number of strings, and that the n is nothing but equivalent to the number of files and directories present inside that particular directory. Now if you want to fetch that one by one, what actually happens is, that list would have stored in an array format where all the names would be present inside this. Now in case if you want to delete that particular file, there is a method for that, and the name of the method is delete. These are all the different methods that we have in case of file class. So apart from this, there are other methods as well, but these are the important methods which are basically used n number of times. So what we shall do is, we shall go and write some code on all of these methods. So now let's write some code and check how those methods work. So first what I'd like to do is, I would like to bring that particular file. Now this particular path I will need to mention. So how do I mention this path if you ask me? Very simple. I need to mention them in a string. So what I will do is, I will put double quotes, and inside that particular thing I will paste the path, and it's the same path that I am going to paste. If you observe, I have C, and inside that there is users, and inside that it's Roman, then desktop, then my files, same as given over there. Now in this, which I am referring to or which I need to refer is, I need to refer to that particular file which is there inside my files, and the name of that file is nothing but data.txt. So what I have to do is I need to put two slashes, and after that I need to say data.txt. Yes. Now what it basically means is the last file that you have, I am actually referring to this. This is what it means. So this particular path is a absolute path of this particular thing or this particular file. So if you ask me what exactly absolute path is a path which starts from the root. Root is nothing but C drive over here. From C drive till here. So now whatever I have got over here, I will store it inside a variable of type string. So I will name this particular variable as path. Why? Because I have the path over here. I hope there is no doubt still here. So as of now, this particular path, whatever I have mentioned, it's nothing but a simple string. Now what I would do is I will create an object of file so that I can refer to that particular file. So how do I create? Very simple. All that I have to do is I have to go and say new file. New file. Yes. Now inside this parenthesis, what I need to do is I need to pass a parameter. And what is the parameter that I need to pass, if you ask? I need to pass the path. So I already have this whole path inside a variable called as path. So I will pass that variable itself over here. Path. Yes. Now what is this going to do is it is going to create a object of file. Now I want a reference for this. So how to give a reference? Very simple. I need to create a variable for this. So let me create a variable and I will name that as file. Now basically when I write this particular statement, what would have happened if you ask me? It's very simple. You have a file over there. It will get a handle or a reference and the name would be file. That is nothing but this. Now by making use of this, I can call all the different methods that we have discussed. So the first thing that I need to do is I will check whether that particular file actually exists or not. Why I am checking this is because over here you have passed the path. This is nothing but a string. Over here I have given the string. In this string it's not necessary I need to pass data.txt itself. I can pass anything that I want over here. I can pass a. But you know very well there is no file called as a. So same way I need to check whether data.txt exists or not. How do I check? Very simple. I need to say file. So I'll say file over here dot. Yes, file dot, and I will call the method exist. So I'll say exist. Now this particular method file exist, what is this going to do if you ask me? It is actually going to say whether that particular file exists or not. That is nothing but data.txt. If it exists, it's going to say yes by returning true. If it doesn't exist, it's saying no by returning false. So what I would do is whatever I am getting over here, I would like to print and check what it's giving me. So I will cut this particular line and put inside system.out.print statement. So if I paste it over there, now this whatever it returns, it will directly print. Now let's check whether that file exists or not. So what I will do is I will save this file and take you to the output window to check the output. So if I first compile the code, so I will say java and alpha.java, that's nothing but the Java file name. So if I press enter, you can see there is no error. Now let me run and see whether it's returning true or false. So if I say Java and the name of the class, and if I press enter, so it's returning me true over here. So it means the file exists. So let me go back and check for another file which does not exist. So what I will do is instead of data.txt, I will say abc.txt. So instead of data, I will say ABC. And you know very well, I don't have a file called as ABC. So obviously this particular line should say me no by returning false. Let's see whether it's doing that or not. So I would like to save this file and take you to the output window. Let me compile the code first. No errors. Let me run the code. You can clearly see it's returning me false. I hope how this particular method works is completely clear to you. So now let's see another method. So let me go back over here. So first let me comment this particular line. Yes, I have commented this line. Now what I need to do is I need to check whether I can perform any read operations to that file or not. So how can I do that? If you ask, there is a method that we have discussed and the name of the method is canRead. How do I call? I call it as file That's nothing but the handle that's referring to that particular file. Dot can read is the name of the method. So I'll say can read. Now this particular method is going to check whether we can read or not. So if we can read on that particular file, or if I can read something from that file, then it will return as true. So whatever it returns, I would like to print. So what I will do is I'll cut this and put inside system.out.print statement by writing like this. Inside this I would paste it. Yes, I have pasted inside this. Now this should say whether we can read or not. Same way I need to check whether I can perform write operation on that particular file or not. So if I have to check whether I can perform write operation on that, there is a method for that. And the name of the method is very simple, can write. So what I will do is I will just duplicate this particular line. Yes, instead of can read over here, I will put write over here, that's all. Yes. Now this method, what it's going to do is, it's going to say me whether I can perform write operation on that or not. So first what I would do is, let me check for abc.txt itself. So let me save this particular file. You know very well that file does not exist. But let's save this file and go and check what it's going to return. So what I will do is, first I will compile the code. I have compiled it. Let me run the code. You can see that it's returning false and false. So what it means is, since the file itself is not there, how can you even perform read and write operation? So it says no and no by saying false and false. I hope it's completely clear. So what I would do is, let me go back to the code and change this particular abc.txt to data.txt. Yes. Now you know very well this particular file exists. So I should be able to perform read and write operation because it's a normal text file. So let me save this file and check what it's going to return. So first let me compile the code. I have compiled it, no errors. I will run the code. You can clearly see it's returning me true and true. So it means I can perform both read operation as well as write operation on this. Next, what we will do is, we will see other methods as well. So I hope how exist method works, can read and can write works is completely clear to you guys. So what I will do is, I will comment these two lines as well. Yes, I will comment these two lines. Now let's see how to get the name of that particular file. And I told you very well that there is a method called as getName. So what I will do is, I will call that method. So how do I call that method? I have a reference for that. So the name of the reference is nothing but file. So I will say file dot. And what I need is, I want to get the name. So I will say getName. So when I say getName over here, it is going to return me the name of the file. So whatever name I have, obviously it is going to return in the string format. So whatever name I have, I will like to print and check what name it's going to give me. So what I'll do is, I'll cut this and paste it inside system.out.println so that it will directly print. Let me save this and check what is the name that it's going to give me. So what I'll do is, I'll save this, take you to the output window over here. I'll compile the code first. I'll put the code. Yes. Next, I would like to run this. I will run this. You can clearly see it's showing me data.txt over here. And you know very well the name of the file is data.txt. So I hope how these different methods are working is completely clear, and it's so simple methods. Let's explore on other methods as well. So what I will do is, I want to get the parent. Now if you ask me, this is data.txt, what is the parent of this? This particular data.txt is present inside my files. So my file is the parent. So you won't get only my files, rather what you should get is till my files. Where that my files is, it's present in desktop. Where is desktop? It's present inside room 1. Where is room 1? It's present inside users. Where is users? It's present inside C. So this is what you should get, that is my files from here till my files. So let's see whether we are getting that or not. So first thing, let me comment this particular line. Next is nothing but get parent. So how do I call this is, I want the parent of data.txt. So the reference for that is nothing but file. So I'll say file dot get parent. So this get parent is going to return me the path in the string format. So whatever I get, I would like to print. So I will cut this particular thing and put that inside system.out.println. So I have cut this. I'll put it right system.out.println, and inside this I'll paste this. I hope this is completely clear to you guys. So let me save this and check what exactly it's going to return me. So if I save this and if I go to the output window, over here let me first compile the code. I'll press enter and now let me run the code by saying Java and the class. If I press enter, you can see it's saying C user room and desktop, and inside that my files. So my files is the parent. So you have the complete path till my files. So I hope how this works is completely clear to you guys. Now what I want is, you have got the path of my files. So whatever path that you are seeing over here, this particular path is called as absolute path. Now what do I mean by absolute path if you ask me? Absolute path are such paths which starts from the root. You know C is the basic one, that is where the root starts. So from C you have all of this. Before C there is nothing. That's why you don't have anything before C. These are called as absolute path. There is one more thing that you can understand, that's something called as relative path. But we are not discussing anything about file systems as of now, so let's ignore that particular thing and let's focus on this absolute path. Now this particular path is the absolute path of my files. Same way I want the absolute path of our file, that is nothing but data.txt. So how to get the absolute path of data.txt if you ask? There is a method and the name of the method is getAbsolutePath. So let me write the code for that and check whether we will get the absolute path of data.txt. So first let me comment this line. Yes. In the next line what I will do is, I will say getAbsolutePath. So how do I call? File.getAbsolutePath. Yes. Now not absolute file, it is absolute path. Yes. Now what I will do is, I will copy this particular, cut this particular line, and what I will do is I will print it. Yes, I will paste it over here. Now I will save this and I would like to show the output, what exactly it's giving. So if I go to the output window, so over here let me first compile the code. I will press enter, no problem. I will run the code. You can see you are getting the absolute path till data.txt. I hope how absolute path works is completely clear to you. Fine. Now let me take you back to the code. So instead of saying get absolute path, there is one more method and the name of the method is get absolute file. So over here instead of path I would like to write it as file. So I'll write it as get absolute file. Let me save this and check what is this going to give me. So what I'll do is I'll save this and then take you to the output window. Over here you know the drill. First I need to compile the code, so I'll compile it. Next I need to execute by saying Java and alpha. Let me press enter. If you observe clearly, I'm getting the exact same thing what I got earlier. So what exactly is the difference if you ask? There is only a small difference. The difference is, if I go back to the code, I will show you over there. Over here what exactly is happening is, this get absolute path file is going to return me the absolute path itself. Even the get absolute path is also going to return me the absolute path itself. But the thing is, the format of returning would be different. In case of get absolute file, the path whatever you have got, that is not in a string format. Rather it is in the format of this, that is nothing but file. It is in this particular format. Now get absolute path what you write, that will also give the same thing, but the format that it specifies is nothing but of type string. So that's the only difference between both of this. I hope it's completely clear to you. Now apart from this there are some more methods, so let's discuss on those methods. So one more method that I have is, for example, I have this data.txt. I need to check whether it is a file or whether it is a directory. So if I have to check whether it is a file, there is a method for that. If I have to check whether it's a directory, there is another method for that. So which are the methods if you ask me? If I want to check whether it is a file, the name of the method is isFile. If I want to check whether it's a directory, the name of the method is isDirectory. So let me call both of the methods and check one by one. So what I will do is, the reference for that is nothing but file. So what I will do is file dot is file. So when I say is file, this is going to return me whether it's file or not. So it's going to say me yes or no. So you know that's nothing but a boolean value. So what I will do is, I will print that and check what it's going to return. So I will cut that, put inside system.out.print statement, and I will paste it over there. Same way I need to check whether it's a directory or not. So what I need to do for that, again I will write system.out.println. You know very well, it's going to return me a boolean value and it's going to say whether it's a directory or not. So what I would do is, I will say file dot is directory. So it's saying is directory. So if it is a directory, it's going to return me true. If it's not a directory, it's going to return me false. You know very well that data.txt is not a directory, so it should return false. You know very well that data.txt is a file, so it should return me true over here. So the output should be true and false. Let's check if we are getting that or not. So if I compile the code, and now if I run the code, you can see it's showing true and false. So true is for is file and false is for is directory. I hope till here it's completely clear to you guys. So now, before exploring other methods, I'd like to create some files and directories. For that, I would like to take you to our file system. So now I'd like to take you to this particular directory, that is my files. So let's go to my files and check what exactly is there in my files. So if I go to my files, so if you observe over here the path, if I select this particular path, you can see it's the same path that we had mentioned in the code. So in this particular directory, what we have is, we have one file named data, and this is nothing but a text file. Now what I need to do is, over here apart from this particular file, there is no other file. So I want to create a new file. So let's see how to create a new file. So you already know that if I right click, I will get an option to create a new file, but I don't want to do that. Rather what I want to do is, I want to go and write a code so that it will create a file over here. So let's see whether this really happens or not. So first I would like to take you to the code window. So over here, if you see already two is file and is directory is there that we had discussed earlier, I would like to comment these two lines first. So I have commented these two lines. Now what I need to do is, I need to create a new file. So if you ask me how to create a new file, first I need to have the path, and this file already has the complete path, that is nothing but file. So that this particular file is referring to this data.txt. Now I don't want to create data.txt. Rather what I want to create is, I want to create a new file, because I already know this file already exists. So let me assume that I want to create a file named as aaa.txt. So what I need to do over here is, instead of data.txt, I'll write aaa.txt. Now in case if I go and check whether this file exists or not, this file does not exist. You can directly check from here by calling this particular method that is called as file.exist. This will definitely return false. So if it returns false, it means that file does not exist. So I hope that you will go and try and do all of these things. Now let me try to create this particular file aa.txt. Now how to create, if you ask me, it's very simple. Now who is referring to this? This file is referring to this. So what I will do is file. So I have told file dot. After this I need to create a new file, so I will say create new file. That's the name of the method. So I will say create new file. Now what would this line do, if you ask me? This line would create a new file, and if you ask me which file it's going to create, it is going to C directory, inside that users directory, inside that room1 directory, inside that desktop directory, inside that my files directory, it is going to create a file called as aaa.txt. That's the file that it is going to create. I want you to be very clear, it's not going to create a directory, rather it's going to create a file. So now what I will do is, I will put the semicolon at the end, and I would like to execute and check how exactly this is working. So first what I will do is, I would like to take you to the output window. So in the output window, first let me compile the code. Yes, I have compiled the code. If you read over here, it's giving us an error. The error says unreported exception, IO exception. That what it's saying is, IO exception must be caught, or it should be declared to be thrown. I hope you might have seen something like this when you had been studying exception handling. What exactly is happening over here if you ask me? This IO exception is thrown. By whom if you ask me? By the method that we have called. If I want to be very specific, let me take you back to the code. So over here what exactly is happening is, over here I am calling this particular method, that is create new files. You know this create new file is present inside a class called as file, which is present inside IO directory, which is IO package, that is nothing but java.io package. Now this particular method, what is it doing if you ask me? This method is throwing an exception. And you know very well, if a method throws an exception, it is your duty that you need to handle the exception over here, or what you need to do is you should again throw it. So what you need to do is over here you need to write throws again the same exception name, that's nothing but IO exception. So that is what we need to do. So over here we have two ways of handling it. But before handling, I would like to prove you by showing that this create new file is actually throwing the exception. So I'd like to go to the source code of this particular thing. Now I have taken you to the source code. In this, if you can completely see, public boolean create new file. Create new file is the method that we had called. Now it is, if you observe the extension, throws IO exception. Now why is it throwing IO exception if you ask me? It's just for the security reasons that is throwing IO exception. Now what you need to do is, your job is to handle this particular exception, because this create new file is not handling this exception. Now this particular code, whatever I have written, whatever I have shown you, this is not written by me, this is already written, and this is the source code. So what I will do is, I will take you back to my code. Over here what I need to do is, this particular line I need to put inside try block, so that the exception is handled. So I will do that now. So I will put inside try block and I will write a catch block which handles IO exception, and that's what I have done over here. I would like to remove this comment. I hope this is completely clear to you guys. All that I have done is try, inside that I have created a new file, catch, it's catching IO exception. And in this IO exception what it's doing is print stack trace, and I hope you already know what print stack trace does. It will print the stack trace from where the exception got created and how it is handled. Now what I would like to do is, I will save this particular file and take you to the output window. Now let's see whether it's really giving us that error or not. Now what I will do is, I will compile the code, I will press enter. You can clearly see it's not giving me any error. And one more thing I want you to observe. When I had executed earlier, it gave me error. When did it give? It didn't give during the runtime. It gave during the compile time. But what we were getting is an IO exception. So I hope what type of exception is IO exception is completely clear. I hope that you have learned something called as checked and unchecked. And I hope that you already know that IO exception is checked exception, because you are getting it during the compile time. Now let's move further. I need to run the code so that the file gets created in that particular directory named as my file. So I will run this particular file. If I press enter, I don't have anything over here, but it should have created a file. Now let's go to that particular directory and check, has it created a file named as AAA, and it should be a text file. So I'd like to take you over there now. So if I take you over here, not the code but the file system, over here you can observe, earlier there was only data.txt. Now if you observe, there is aaa.txt. If you want, I will make this as large now. I will increase the icon size so that it's clearly visible to you guys. So this is nothing but aaa.txt. Now same way I would like to create two more files. So let me go and create two more files. So I'll take you to the code. Now over here I have already created this file. So what I will do is, this aaa I will remove and I will put bbb.txt. Yes. Now let me go and compile this and check whether it has created or not. So what I will do is, I will take you to the output window. Yes, over here I will compile and I will run the code. I have compiled the code. Now I would like to run the code. That is Java and the name of the class, that is alpha. So when I do this, if I press enter, it's not returning anything, or it's printing, but hopefully it should have created the file. That we will see later, but let me go and create one more file. So let me go to the code. So over here, instead of BBB, I will name it as CCC now. Yes. Now again I would like to compile and run this code. So let me compile and run this code. Yes. So I will come over here, press enter. Again I will run the code over here. So if I press enter, there is no errors. Now what I would do is I would like to take you to the output window, to the file system. So if I take you to the file system, over here you can clearly see it has created 4 different files. So these are the 4 files, that is, one is data, one is AA, one is CCC, one is BBB. I hope everything is completely clear to you guys till here. Now what I want to do is, if you observe, I have created text files. Now I don't want to create text files, rather what I need to do is I want to create directories. Now if I want to create directories, there is a method for that, and if you ask me which is the method, I would like to directly write and show you. So let me take you to the code first. So now let me remove all of these lines, all the try catch, the whole thing I will remove. Yes. Now just write file dot create new file. Yes, create new file, and I will just comment this line. Fine. So now I will go to the next line. Now over here what I would like to do is I would like to create a new directory. So over here I already have ccc.txt, and you know very well that this file already exists. Now I don't want to create a file, rather a directory. So what I will do is I will create one directory, and I like to name that particular directory as Java. So what I will do is I will remove this ccc.txt. In place of this I will say Java. So the name of this directory would be Java. So let's see how to create a directory. The method name is very simple, and the name of the method is mkdir. Now what does mkdir mean if you ask me? It means make directory. So let me call that method. So how do I call this? File dot mkdir. Yes. Now let me put the semicolon. Yes. Now what it should do is it should create a directory. Where exactly should it create a directory? This particular file means I am calling this. So in this file, what is the path that I have? I have C directory, inside that users, inside that room1, inside that desktop, inside that my files, inside that Java. So it should create Java directory. So let's see whether it's creating Java directory or not. For this, first I need to run the code. So let me take you to the output window. Over here I would like to compile it first and then execute it. I'll press enter. Now let me clear the screen, and now let me take you to the file system. Now if I go to the file system, I should have already a directory, and you can clearly see there is already a directory created over here, and the name given over here is nothing but Java. I hope how to create a file and how to create a directory is completely clear to you guys. Now what I need to do is, there are so many files and directories. Now there might be n number of files and directories. What I want is, if I come to this particular directory, that is nothing but my files. If I come to my files, which is present inside desktop, I want all the files and directories which is present inside my files. Now whatever window that you see over here, this is nothing but my files. So inside this, what all files and directories are there, I want the list of all these files and directories. Now how to get all of this, if you ask? Very simple. All that I need to do is I need to call a method, and the name of the method is list. So let me go and write the code for this thing. So when I come back over here, let me comment this particular line. Yes. Now if I want the list of different files, I need to call the method called as list, and what it would return is, it would return me the names of all the files. So you know names are nothing but string values. So it will return me a string array. So let's see whether it's really doing this or not. So what I'll do is file dot list. Now when I say file dot list, what would this return if you ask? It would return whatever I have given in the path. So I want you to guess the output. Now what I will do is I will just execute and show you this thing. So what it returns is, it returns me whatever is there in the particular directory that I have mentioned over here. So what I will do is I will store this in an array of strings. So let me do that. So it's storing in an array of strings. So the name of the array is list. So I will say it as my files over here. Instead of list, I will say my files. Make the F as uppercase. Yes. So inside this my files, it will have n number of names which is in string. So those names are nothing but the names of the files and the directories. So what I do is I would like to print all of them one by one. If I have to do that, you know very well, I need to traverse this particular array that is nothing but my files. So if I have to traverse this array, you know very well that I need to make use of for loop. So what I would do is I will make use of a for each loop over here. So I will write for, I will open the parenthesis, I will put a colon in between. Yes, on the right hand side of this, what I will do is over here I will say my files. I will say my files. And you know very well, my files is nothing but an array. So this array will be present over here. From this, one by one element would be coming on this particular side. So one by one, whatever comes is a single file. So I will say my file. Yes. So I have told it as my file. Now you know very well, this my file is of type string, because over here you have multiple string values. So one by one string value is what you will be getting. So I will represent this as string over here. So I will say string. Yes. Now whatever I have got, I will directly print it. So I will put a brackets, and then what I will do is I will like to print my file. So I will say system.out.println and I will print my file over here. So now let's see whether it's printing all the files or not. And you know very well, inside my files, that is nothing but inside this particular directory, which all files were there. So let me save this. Let me go to the output window. Yes, if I go over here, first let me compile the code by saying Java and the name of the Java file. If I press enter, it's giving me some error. It's saying my files error, cannot find the symbol my file. Means I have done some typo mistake. That's the reason I have got this particular thing, because when I declared I made F as uppercase, but when I'm writing I have made it as lowercase. Let me go back and rectify that error. So over here this should be uppercase F inside the print statement. So this was a small typo mistake. So let me save this and then go back. Yes. So let me compile it again. Yes, you can clearly see it's not giving me any error. Now let me run this. Yes, press enter. Now if you observe, you are getting output which is printing nothing. So if it's printing nothing, it means that there is no files present inside that, or nor directories present inside that. Now let me take you to the code and show you a small simple thing. The mistake that we have done. If this is our file system, in this I wanted all the files which was present inside my file, means which was present over here. But what have we represented in the path? In this particular path we have told my files, and after that we have told Java, and you know Java is also a directory. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to fetch all the files and directories present inside Java, and you know very well inside this Java directory there is nothing. So that is the reason that it's printing nothing. If you want me to prove it, let me go to the file system now. So when I take you to the file system, you can clearly see inside this over here you have Java directory. So if I go inside this, you can see it's completely empty, and this is what it is giving you, but this is not what we want. Let me go back. This is what I want. If I want this, I need to be inside my files. So let me go and do the necessary changes in the code. So if I take you to the code, so over here in the code, let me take to the code. Yes, over here instead of Java, I will remove that Java completely. Over here. If I remove over here, where we are is we are inside my files. Now it should give whatever is there inside my files. Let's see whether it's giving what is there inside my files or not. So what I'll do is I'll save this and take you to the output window. Yes. Now let me compile and then run and check whether it's giving the expected output or not. So when I run this, you can clearly see aa.txt, bbb, ccc and Java. You have all the 4 files and directories combined together. So the list would actually list out all the files and directories that is present. Now let me take you back to the code. Now one more thing that I need to do is, I have shown you how to create, how to list out. Now let me show you how to delete a file. The method to delete a file is delete. So how do I call this? Is very simple. I need to say file dot delete. That's it. If I write this much, it will delete a file. So let me first comment all these lines, or let me remove these lines. Don't remove the first line again. Yes, remove only the for loop and comment this particular line. Yes. So now this would delete a file. If you ask me which file it would delete, whatever you have mentioned in the path of file. So what I have mentioned in the path of file, if you ask me, if you see the path, you can see my files. Now if I delete my files, everything will get deleted. I don't want to delete this. Rather, inside my files there are some files. I want to delete those files. So what I'll do is, I'll put slash. Yes. Now over here I want to delete the file named as aaa.txt. So I need to mention aaa.txt. So now what happens is, this file gets deleted. So let's see whether this gets deleted or not. So before that, what I'd like to do is, I'd like to take you to the file system and show which are all the files. So if you observe over here, you can clearly see this is the file, that is aaa.txt. Now this would get deleted if I run this code. So let me take you to the output window and let me run that and show you. So if I take you to the output window, let me compile the code first. So now if I press enter, no errors. Now if I run this, definitely it will not give any output, but it would have made a difference in the file explorer. So what I will do is, I will take you back over there and show that it is deleted. Now if you observe, you have Java, you have bb.txt, you have ccc.txt, and you have data.txt, but you don't have a.txt. So this is how we can delete a file. Now if you ask me, you already know how to delete a file, but how to delete a directory? Very simple. Call the same method. All that you have to do is mention the name of the directory. So let me go back to the code. So over here, instead of a.txt, what I'll do is, I'll put the name of the directory, that is nothing but Java. So what I'll do is, I'll remove this and put Java over here. Yes. Now let me save this. And you know very well Java was already there. So let me go to the output window and execute this now. So if I go over here, first let me compile the code. Yes, I've compiled it. Let me run the code. Definitely it won't give any output, but it would have removed the file. Let me go and check. So if you see over here, as of now you can see only 3 files over here, and the directory is also removed. So to remove a file or a directory, the name of the method is delete. So I hope how to delete, how to create, how to list out, how to check whether a file exists, all of this is completely clear to you guys. But still we have not seen how to write into a file or how to read from a file. So now let's see how to read and write into a file.